So our on-the-ground partner is PIDS, or the Philippine Institute of Development Studies here, and they are outstanding. The team has so much expertise in the area, and they're highly communicative, just always going above and beyond, thinking ahead, filling in the gaps even before we think of things. They're very critically engaged. So every time, we're sending them a new tool, for example, some sort of qualitative interview tool, they come back with such deep, thoughtful questions about how it'll be perceived and all sorts of things. So, and more so, they're just a great team. They're so personable and fun to be around. And it's having this in-person time to connect with them has been so special. This is actually my second time back. I was here in December for the TOT, or the training of trainers, for the workshop for lights. And now we're back and seeing the workshop actually happen. It's just been amazing, but the PEDS team is so organized. I had the chance to go to their office before the workshop and see all the preparations that they had done to make sure, the stakeholders were engaged and had all the information, but also just to make sure the workshop ran so seamless and so smoothly. They had pre-prepared all of the materials and counted everything out at the tables. They're just incredibly meticulous team, and we're so, so thankful for their skills. So the lights workshop was primarily looking at why these policies surrounding mother tongue based multilingual education, or MTB MLE policy. So first I'll take a step back and explain. MTB MLE policy is when schools focus on language of instruction, so having the teacher speak to the students in their mother tongue, or the language that they speak at home, the L1. And the purpose of doing this is that there's just tons of rich evidence, cross-country, multi-country evidence, showing that when students learn in their first language, or the language that they're most comfortable in, they really just expand their reading skills a lot faster, earlier, and that those reading skills, literacy skills, are then transferable to the second language, or the L2, which in the Philippines is English. So oftentimes that transition happens around third grade. So students will learn ideally in their mother tongue, or their L1, and they learn to read in that language. And then they maybe study English as a subject, or they get some dosage of English up until third grade, and then they make the transition to the language of instruction being in the L2, or here in the Philippines, often English. And the research shows that when students learn to read in their first language, that they're much more successful in their second language reading skills, because a lot of the skills we use to read are transferable across language. So that's sort of the empirical evidence we're working with. And we're working now at the workshop to understand why MTB MLE policies have been not prioritized in the Philippines. They have these low levels of political prioritization, and also slightly inefficient levels of implementation. So why have the policies maybe not been implemented to their full capacity, or in the best way that they've been able to? So we're working with a group of stakeholders who have some sort of expertise in this area, and doing a lot of root cause analyses, both of low levels of policy prioritization and low levels of policy implementation, and working with these stakeholders and with our local research team to understand why that's been the case. The great thing about the research, though, is that it shows that, both are true, that preserving the L1 and teaching students in the L1 is actually conducive to gains in the L2. So when students learn in that first language, they become more successful in reading in the second language. So that evidence is really exciting, and that shows that, it is important to preserve those languages and maintain them and teach students them as not only a product of preserving language, but also because it's the best way to learn in the L2. In groups, they used a fishbone analysis. So the head of the fish is the problem, and these bones in the fish are the factors causing the problems. So we asked them to brainstorm what they thought were the 6 factors and then sub-factors, so the why to the factors for both of those questions. And then we asked them to go back and say, how certain are you? How certain are you that that is a factor? And are you really certain? Are you kind of certain, or are you not so certain? And then we asked them to tell us why they're certain. So did they read a policy brief? Did they hear a speech from someone at the Department of Education? Or were they maybe in the room when they heard people talking about this, or have some sort of firsthand experience? We'll go back and look at all these fish bones and diagrams that the participants worked on, and try to find those factors that to us seem really compelling, like strong reasons that, that might have led to lower policy prioritization or implementation, but maybe they're only kind of certain then we can go and investigate that further and figure out who we need to talk to or what we need to do to confirm that factor. And that will inform who we talk to in our key informant interviews and with our process tracing. And so these outputs are going to be super, super important to us as we move into the next phase of our research implementation. Chance to be in person together, not only with the UND team, but with the PIDS team and with these local stakeholders, and get to chat about these issues like over breakfast and after the workshop and, over tea and stuff it's really been exciting. And it's helped me think through a lot of the questions I've had that, I just haven't had the time to really dive into or haven't wanted to steal someone's time to discuss. But here we have that kind of free time and spare time to just chat and work through things together and form relationships. And I think after the TOT, I noticed too, like, it's really great to have that in-person time because it makes the remote time better. Like, once we get back and we've established these relationships in person, I think those conversations on Zoom flow a little easier, and at least for me. So yeah, I think just the personal element has been the best part, but also being in the Philippines. I've never been to the Philippines before, anywhere in Southeast Asia. So it's just been an amazing experience to get to explore Manila a little bit and now get a chance to be in Cebu as well. I got to spend the weekend going to some other parts of Cebu and doing some swimming and seeing some beaches. So it's been a phenomenal experience for me.